Okay, so I've got this file open, which I've just saved as Barangaroo Master, but you can see it's blank. All I've got, though, in this file is the tabs that you can see set up, or the layouts down the bottom, and that's why I'm using it, because I want to use these pages to set up my prints, and then I'm going to bring in everything that I want to include on those layouts using these things called Xrefs, which if you haven't used them before are simply giving the ability to link one AutoCAD file into another. And so you can get to that if you go to the Insert tab and then click the first Attach button there. And just watch out, there's another one that says Attach, but that's completely different. That's for point clouds. So watch out for that one. Unless you're doing point clouds, you'll never need to use that. Yeah. So, oh look, it's good to know. Yes. No, you've got to know. You've got to know, because people will ask you about these. Point clouds are a lot of points that give you a 3D model. It's that simple. And you know those cameras that can take 3D photos? Yeah. They give you point clouds. No. Yeah, that's right. Only in, well, if you watch the old Star Trek from the 90s, they used to do hologram photos. In Voyager, and it's the same idea. So it's a real thing. You can do it nowadays, and I've had clients ask me for these. So you can do it. But if you're not doing that, never use that button, and just be aware of it. You've got the other one there that looks different, and they both say Attach. So the one towards the left-hand side is the one for Xrefs. And if you type in on the command line the letter Xref, that works as well. And you can see there it should be loading, but it's thinking. So I'll give it a second. There we are. So that's got the Xref or External References palette. When you click on the Attach button, it takes you straight to a dialog box where you can choose the things you want to attach. So I'm going to now browse and find my 2019 folder with the files that I've saved already, and then you can see it's not showing me any AutoCAD files, because down the bottom it's got files of type on PDFs, which is another interesting thing to look at, because you can see there AutoCAD's one of the only programs that's not Adobe that you can use to insert PDF files. Not Adobe. So you can insert any PDF into AutoCAD. No, it works. They work beautifully, and it's better than, say, Revit, where you've got to make them JPEGs first, because if you insert a PDF into AutoCAD and it's vector, it keeps the file as vector lines. So you get true lines and points and other things you can snap to, and it works really well. So again, normally you need an Adobe program to work in that way. I know most Microsoft programs can also work with PDFs nowadays, but that's a new thing, and they're not drawing programs. So if you need to work with PDFs and keep them as vectors, AutoCAD's a great option as well, and you can insert them this way. Yeah, if someone gives you a PDF, and often when you've got a PDF that's, say, a floor plan, you can be pretty sure the person who's made that floor plan has used AutoCAD to make the PDF. And then when you get that PDF back into AutoCAD, it's almost like you've got the original lines from the AutoCAD file. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So that's a great option. But here, also I'll show you there you've got image files as an option, all image files, so JPEGs and things like that. We don't want that. We want AutoCAD files. So you can see there you've got DWG, drawing, and then I can choose any other AutoCAD file. So so then I can just choose the floor plan file that I've already saved. There it is, Barangaroo floor plan level 35. And then it's thinking. There we are. It comes up with a dialog box that you might think is familiar a little bit. Yeah. So it looks a bit like the one you use to insert blocks. Right, you've got the same options. You've got scale, insertion point, and rotation. So often, if you're inserting an Xref, you wouldn't want to scale it. You want to keep it at the original size. So generally wouldn't want to tick that option there. And you also generally don't want to rotate them. Sometimes you might, but in this case I'm not going to tick that because I don't want to rotate it, but I do want to click to place the insertion point, so I'm going to leave that one ticked. Specify on screen under insertion point, and then you've also got these options for attachment and overlay. If you're not sure, generally leave it on attachment. Overlay does something pretty different, and we'll look at that later. So again, for now, just leave that on attachment every time. And also the path, so you want that on relative path. And also it's a good chance to check your units, so you want to make sure that it's millimetres. You can't change that, but it's a good chance just to check the units. So that's all done. So I'll click OK. And again, it's thinking, because it's a big file. But now I can then click to place my insertion point. You can see this file actually has a detail in it, and that's okay. I'm just going to click to place it after I zoom out a little bit, and then you can see the main floor plan. So it is there, but it's big, so I've got to zoom right out, which I'm doing just with the wheel as I move the cursor there. Still trying to go out. It's just thinking, because it's big. Come on. Okay, so it's still zooming out, but I'm just going to click to place it anywhere, and I can move it afterwards, because I want you to see this. So there we are. So I've placed it, and now to see it, I'm going to double click with the wheel, and that's going to zoom out, and then I can see everything.
Double click with the wheel?
Yeah, that does zoom extents. So zooming out now, you can see there's that little detail that was coming up, and there's the floor plan. So we can select that, and you can see it's all grouped as one object. And then when you select an Xref, or external reference, you get the option on the ribbon there to click external references, and that also brings up that palette that you use to manage your Xrefs. So you've got lots of really good options to work with Xrefs or linked files in AutoCAD that you don't have in programs like Revit. I'm going to switch over and show you in Revit how to do some other things as well. We'll look at AutoCAD first. So when you right click on the Xref, notice firstly that we've got all of the different things that are linked here. So that can be a bit confusing until you understand it, because it's got the images now as well as the AutoCAD files all grouped together. So this is the AutoCAD file that I've just linked, Barangaroo.
What do you mean by the images?
So this is the thing I've used for the logo.
Oh,
It's that little image there. And yeah, so then these ones with exclamation marks, they're just the same thing in another file. So this is the one I want, Barangaroo floor plan level 35. That's got the name that I've just inserted. So I'm going to right click on it and go to open, and it'll take me straight to that file. And it's opened it for me. So now I've got the two tabs. So then I'm going to just close the palette to get it out of the way. Go back to the model tab and clean up this drawing. I'm going to take out that detail that I don't want there. So I've just deleted it. And then I'm going to save my file, just a regular save. That's right, back to the master. And then it's really nice because it gives you a message and tells you that file's been updated. So that's right, click on reload, and it's going to make the change. So it's going to take out the detail from there, and I'm just going to have what I want, which is my floor plan. So then I can also see that it's a long way from my insertion point, and I want that to be closer. So I'm going to go back and fix that. So maybe I'll firstly just check that I've got all my layers turned on, because I don't want anything left behind. So I've got the furniture there, frozen, and I'm just going to hit Control A there to select all my layers, and just scroll down and make sure everything is on. So a good trick there is just to click on one of them and then click on the same one again and just make sure they're all on. They all look like they're thawed, so I'm going to leave that, and everything else is okay. So now I can just pick it all up and click Move, and then I'm going to pick the point there where these two grids line up. That's probably a good insertion point, and then move that to 0, 0. So how do we do that without just clicking on it, which is a bit rough? You can, but if we type it in without doing anything else, it may not work because you've got to check that you've got this dynamic input option turned off to make that work. Now, the way it works, essentially, if you can see how the coordinates are coming up next to my cursor now, after I turn that option on, right, so when it's off, they come up only down on the command line, but then when you turn that on, the coordinates come up next to your cursor. So when that option's on, the coordinates are always relative, which means if I type 0, 0, it's not going to move because it's measuring 0, 0, that's right, from that point. But if I turn this off, the coordinates are absolute. So they're from the origin. So if I type 0, 0, it's going to put it back to that origin. And there we are. So that's a really good thing to know. And if you're ever trying to work with absolute coordinates, you need to have dynamic input turned off. And you may not even have that button because you've got to check that it's on by going to here and then make sure you've got dynamic input ticked. So that's, yeah, that can be really helpful because there will be times when absolute coordinates are better or, you know, something you want to use. So there's my plan, and again, I'll save that and then go back and in my master file, reload it, and we'll see the plan move. And now I can pick that up. I'm not going to put it into the origin in this file because I don't want it there. I just want it off to the side, away from the origin. So I've got a bit more room to work around it. Okay, so then I can get maybe my detail and insert that in here as well. So I'll just do that again. On the Insert tab, I'll go to Attach and then find my detail, partition detail there. Now it's showing me in the thumbnail the layout. So just to make it a bit clearer, I'm actually going to open that file. And this is a nice thing you can do with AutoCAD that you can't do with Revit. Okay, so you can have files that you're linking together using Xrefs, open and work on them all at the same time, whereas in Revit you can't. So I've just saved that file so that now when I go back to my Barangaroo master, I'll go back onto Model and then click Attach, and this time when I select my partition detail, you can see the thumbnail shows the view that I had when I saved it the last time. Just makes it a bit clearer what's happening. So there we are. So again, I've got the same options there to insert my my Xref. So I'm just going to click, in fact, tick rotation there. And this one I was going to use to project off the side. It should be okay. This one's got a wall there that's right. Yeah, it should be right. Okay, so I've ticked rotation, also specify on screen under rotation. And I'm just going to place this above, just looking at my walls first to make sure I've got a partition wall that's facing the way. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put it over here. So I'm just making sure I've got a wall, maybe this one actually, this one's better. So I'll put it over this side. And then I'm going to turn on ortho just so I can rotate that 90 degrees. Okay, and so then we could potentially have maybe this wall that we want to be taking that detail from. Yeah. So then I can project lines, yeah, from there and take them across to line them up with my partition. Yeah. So I'll move that now to line up exactly with that line, and then potentially we can have that line coming down, and hopefully that's got the right width. Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty close. So, yeah, yeah. That's right, so we can fix that on the page. So, yep. So I'll make a new layer. So I'll just call this layer, you know, projection. Oh yes, project, yep, projection lines. Normally I wouldn't even type in all of that, but I'm going to set it to be non-printing. And then I'll make the colour maybe grey, and maybe make it current layer. So then I can put these lines onto that layer, Okay, so now if I go to one of my layouts, then, so I've got this one set up that maybe I can use for my detail. And I'm going to go onto the Layout tab and make a new rectangular viewport. I might just switch to the right layer for this. I'll make it on the viewport layer. So I'm just making a rectangular viewport. And this is a really good tip. If you know that you need to rotate the view inside your viewport, always make a new viewport instead of copying another one. Because there's a little bug. I'll show you what it is.
When I've done this,
Yeah.
I always just rotate it with model space on the
You can, but then you'd have to go and, if you want to keep projecting back in the model tab, you'd have to rotate it back or do something else extra. So this just saves you a step. So here I've got that one already set up, and in the top right we've got the little arrows that we can use to rotate the view. There is another way.
I think we did it in model.
Yeah.
We just did it in model.
Yeah, yeah. And you can do that. Yeah, yeah. So it's when, especially when you've got big files with lots of things, that are all projecting off in different directions, it saves you a lot of setting up at the end. So
My friend was just started working out AutoCAD, and he was like saying that someone came up and they're like, can you get this drawing through here? And he like opened it up and there was like hundreds of like detailed drawings. He's like, and then
Yeah.
like that one, and then also he's like, I can do this one.
My worst nightmare.
yeah, now that's common. So you often will have that. That's why people use Xrefs to break it up a little bit. But you still need to insert them all at the end, usually into one big master file, and it can get pretty confusing when you look at the model tab version of it. But then once you work out the Xref that you need, normally just go to that and work on it. Yeah. And yeah, that's why I'm showing you Xrefs, because not so much because it's going to really help you with this project. You might not need to use them all that much. But then if you go and work in any big firm, they'll always break up their projects using Xrefs. So I've just rotated the view, and I've got then the detail that I can have set up without rotating it back in the model tab. And so I've got the grid, and then oh yeah, I never use the grid in AutoCAD. It's a waste of time. So there we are. So that works if you need to rotate using this view cube. So I'll show you why I recommend making a new viewport, because if instead of making a new one, I copy this. Which one? Oh yeah, I set some of them to curved and some to, straight, just to show the difference. Yeah, you can do it either way. It's up to you. So if you copy a viewport, there's a little bug that I've noticed with AutoCAD. Now, in this new viewport, notice it doesn't have the view cube. Right? But if you make a new one, it'll always have the view cube.
That's why you can't rotate it.
Yeah, well, there is still a way. There's another way of rotating them.
It's okay. We can just.
Oh, but it's just if you have, it's easy. It's easy. So what you do is you type UCS. Yeah, yeah. No, but it's good to know all these things, because it's a beautiful program to draw with, and so anyone, you get a lot of people who don't know it so well who'll tell you, oh God, AutoCAD's so painful and so technical, just because they don't know it very well. And if you've ever had to do a lot of technical drawing, it saves you so much time and effort. You can't get by just with Revit or AutoCAD or any of those BIM programs, because they're not set up to draw technical drawings as efficiently as AutoCAD. So again, anyone who does technical drawing for a living, they know AutoCAD is your best friend. So here, this UCS command, UCS is actually something that's used more for 3D, but it's great for this. If you just type UCS, Z, enter, and then the angle you want it to rotate. So say I want to rotate it another 90 degrees, I'm just going to type 90, and then notice how the little XYZ icon has changed. So it's going to rotate to line up with that. So I'm going to then type plan, enter, and then enter again. It's actually going to flip it 180 because it's opposite to what I had. But this is just so you can see it does rotate it. So there, it's now up the other way. Okay, so I'll just do one more time. It's easy. UCS, enter, 90, enter. Yeah, because it was already rotated 90. So I'll start.
It's on the original. Okay,
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, UCS, 90, Z, enter, 90, enter. So now it will be another 90 because there's the X perpendicular to our viewport. So I'm going to type in plan and then enter twice. And so now it's rotated another 90. So one more time, UCS, enter, Z, enter, 90, enter, and then plan, enter twice, and yeah, well, this is how it used to be. Yeah. Plan, enter twice. Yeah. Yeah. But it's all on the command line. If you watch the options there, it makes a bit more sense. And if you know UCS, then when you go and work in the office using AutoCAD, you're about to do a lot of things. So it just means user coordinate system.
Oh, okay.
That's all it means. So you're just changing your own, making your own XY axis, pretty much. So that's it. And so now I've got it back to the way it was, all without the view cube. So, and it will be helpful, you'll see later, because you'll go into offices where they don't know that, and they'll have viewports sometimes that they just can't rotate the way they want, and so they've got to make the whole thing again. Yeah, or do this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's it. And so then just to go back to the Xrefs, so the idea with Xrefs is that, again, everything's linked from another file. So say we want to do the stair detail or, you know, I don't know where your stairs would be in this plan, but it's from an early stage of one of your designs. I've forgotten which one. But the stairs, I can't even think where they would be here. Oh, here we are. There they are. Okay, so, yeah. 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 So, okay, so say we want to do the stair detail projecting off this. So we'd have a line to help with that at the same angle as the stairs. And then so I'm just making it perpendicular to the back line there, and hope it should be the right angle, but actually, okay, this shows you where people can maybe make some mistakes. So I'm going to draw, instead of perpendicular, I'm just going to draw by tracing along the side to make sure the angle is right. And then, okay, so if you work in some of the offices like the one I know that people at Gaia work in where all this was done, they would actually have another file, Xref, that had the projection. So the section of the stairs would be in another file, and that could be linked into this file. That's a bit of a complicated setup. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to project off to the side here. So I'll just draw some more lines now at the angle that I want. So to get that to work, it's quite difficult because I'd have to draw from out here and then take it perpendicular back to this line and then move that line to the thing that I want to project off, maybe this, you know, edge of the stair here. And it's all going to get a bit hard because the angle is unusual. So this is where, again, that UCS thing will help you. So if I just type again, UCS, and then you've got the option there already on the origin. You can see it's picking up my origin, and I can just, maybe to make it clearer, click on that point there, and you can see my XY axis sitting right on that that point, and then it gives me a chance to rotate it, and I can make it follow that line that I've drawn. And then now it's asking me for a positive point on the XY plane. Here you can either press enter to accept the default direction would be for Y to go up, or you can click to give the direction. So if you don't do this step, you could do it in the Xref linked file, but that's probably a bit more complicated for me to show you. So I think this is the easiest way. And so now I can project off. You can see if I draw lines now, and I'll turn ortho on, and notice how they're drawing already at the right angle. Okay, so then I can project off all of the stairs, and so if you get your Revit section, are you using your sections from your Revit stairs to get your stair sections?
No,
Yeah.
actually, I think I drew mine from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
And it was a while ago.
Yeah. So you can do it either way. So if you get the one from Revit, you'd have to then rotate it to follow this angle, but I'd highly recommend that you keep it as an Xref. So insert it as an Xref, and then so that'll be your base underneath what you draw over the top in this file. And then if it's an Xref, you can always update any changes you make from there. And so here then we can draw lines. So this will be the floor. And then maybe just to show you some little, basic drawing techniques, if I copy my lines, of course that's going to line up with each tread, but that's all a bit tedious if I've got to, click on each one to copy it. So simple thing you can do there is copy in groups, which for stairs saves you a lot of time.
Oh, that's what I'm still doing that.
Yeah, that's it, same idea. And so that will give us most of the lines for the stairs here. I'll just go to there, since that's, one more for the landing. So then, do you know your riser height?
I don't know if they're right.
Oh, okay, so do you know your floor-to-floor height?
Yeah. No, John and I made it up the other day. No, floor to floor.
Floor-to-floor.
I think it's 3-3. Yeah.
That sounds pretty low. Yeah, it could be. It could be.
We saw what the
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. But yeah, that's upper floors in a high rise. That's not that unusual, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 24. So then 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so. Give you 600 bulkhead. That's standard for commercial. Yeah. Okay. All right. So okay. So then we're drawing off at this funny angle. So that's where again, if you type plan and then enter twice, it just sets the view to the angle of your UCS. Yeah. And you can easily go back. So it's good. Sorry? Oh yeah, that's fine. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good to notice. Yeah, so I'll change this back to my projection lines layer, and that's better. Yeah. And so then, okay, so let's work out the height. So I'm going to offset 3300, and then we can offset above, and then that's right. So well, you'll see, do a bit of trimming, but mostly I'm going to use copying. So. Okay, so we need to know how many steps in the staircase. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, they're not all showing you. So let's say 18. Let's try that. Okay, so 3,300 divided by 18 gives you 183.3 recurring. So that's fine. So we'll go with that. So you just type CAL. Yep, you've got to know how to type in, the operation. So asterisk for multiply and / for divide. And yeah, it works really well. So, but then this line there, that's going to work as a rod that I can then use to divide and get my my risers. So. Well, no, I've done the treads by tracing, and now I'm going to do the risers by working the other way. Yeah. So then you've got the divide command. This is a section. Yeah. So there I can use divide, and then select that line, and then type in 18. And thinking. Why is it so slow today? Okay, and so we can see the points there, but you may not see them. So if you don't see the points come up like that, you've got to check your point style. It's under utilities over here. You just go to point style and then choose which symbol you want. So I often use the cross, but I always change it to a different one so you can see it. And then you've got the point size, which I often set, instead of relative to screen, I'll set in absolute units. So I'm just going to make that, say, 50. So that's going to be 50 mil. Whereas if it's on relative units, then the points change size depending on how much you zoomed in or out. So here, they're going to stay a fixed size, so they'll be 50 mil no matter what. So I'm going to click OK, and you'll see they will resize to a better size. There we are. And I'll change to the right layer in a second. Yeah, so now I might go to my stair. Well, I'll see if I've got a stair layer. And notice how when I look at the layers this time, we've got a lot more layers. Because each linked file has its own set of layers. So there's my plane layer, or my plane file that has all its own layers, and there's the detail file again, it's got all its own layers. So I don't have very many layers in this file, so I might actually have to make a new layer for my stairs. So a stair cut or section, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to be checking your layer names. And then I'm going to make this fairly heavy because it's going to be almost like a detail, so I can make it 0.5. And the colour I'll make just something that'll stand out, green, that'll do. It's probably metal, so it probably should be really a bluish sort of colour. But again, don't get hung up on the colours needing to follow a standard or anything like that. So that should do it. So I've got my layer, and then I'm going to draw a line coming across from my point. So it's not snapping to the points. You've got to make sure it's got the node object snap ticked, and then coming across perpendicular to that line. I'll draw another one coming down from there. Trim this one back. I'm just going to use the grips to do that. So I've got a little L shape, and that's going to give me the starting point for my steps. So I'm going to select that. No, I won't put any detail in yet, so I'm just going to give you the idea by selecting it. I'll copy, and then I can pick it up on the base, and then take it to each of those points. So I don't even need the projecting lines to do this. And then I can select a group of them, just like before, and copy them as a group. And before long, you'll get a section for all of your steps. Yep. So there we are. And then the landing, of course, will just be extended across. But what I should have done before going too far, and I can always come back and you can see how easy it is to do that if I've got to fix it, but I'm going to measure and make sure I got my maths right with that, riser height. So you can see there 183.3, which is perfect. So that's the basic process for setting out stairs, and you can do that from any angle. So the final thing then is tying that all back to the idea of Xrefs. So we've got the stair plan there, which is a bit messy and needs to be tidied up. So I'm going to go back to my plan file and then maybe make some changes to this, and I might maybe just clean up some of these lines here. Might even just delete some of them and make some little changes there, just so you can see that process. So I'll just extend some of these lines, so it's a bit neater. There, I'll get overlapping lines if I extend that one, so I might just delete these lines because I'm fussy and I don't like overlapping stuff in AutoCAD. Not that anyone's going to know. So there we are. Yeah, definitely, yeah, it's good to think about it, but yeah, sometimes, I find myself going through and getting rid of all these overlapping things and realise at the end of the day, no one else would have seen it and no one else cares. But yeah, it is good to think about it. So just so you can see a change though, I'll save this file and then back to my master file, and again it tells me I can reload it there, but I'll show you in case that option has disappeared, you can always go back instead to the Xref Pallet, which again you can get either on the Insert tab, it's, where has it gone? It's in here somewhere, and I'm blind, I can't see it or think about it, but, well, you can always just type in...
Under reference, if you do the drop down list.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, you could be right. Edit reference? No. There used to be a button for it, but, yeah. Anyhow, you can just type in Xref, Xref definitely works, and that's what I normally do. So, and that's a really good palette to have. So, the other way I always forget, you can always just click on an Xref, and when you right click, you can go to external references there. So, you can see then it tells us with that little exclamation mark, this one has had a change, and so to reload it, you can always right click there and then reload. So, thinking, and now you can see it's brought across the change. And so now to finish all of that off, to get my plan set up on a page, of course, maybe I'll just duplicate one of my previous layouts. And I don't want to show you one little thing after this, but I'll just do this first. So I'm going to copy this layout, and I'm going to set up my plan. There's something wrong with the network at the moment. Yeah, it's mad. So I think they're upgrading or something, and it possibly is a Windows 10 thing.
That's the lie they tell you. It's
Yeah.
like, you have to pay for the car, like for the car park, and they're going to upgrade the printer system. And
Yeah.
you're going to pay for car park, and printing's been slow since we started.
I know.
No, I know, but I mean, like, they're upgrading the internet. Yeah, right. Who the other one?
Yeah. No, but look, there are some funny things going on with, the world of Windows and
Yeah.
Windows Server, the new version. It's got some strange things happening, and yeah. So it could be getting resolved by the middle of the year, maybe, but I can't promise. Anyhow,
November.
but it's not. I mean, I've talked to a few people about this, and it's a difficult thing to fix, unfortunately. So yeah. Anyhow, so but one thing that might help you, if you save onto a local hard drive, so just save into your documents folder. If you've got a big file, save it locally, and that should avoid any network issues at least. Yeah. So then I'm just setting up this viewport with the plan, and notice how when I'm zooming it's locked because I've forgotten to unlock the viewport there, and then we'll set the scale to, well actually we want this to be 1 to 200. And that's another thing I can show you because it's 1 to 100, and of course the plane won't fit at that scale because it's too big. So we need 1 to 200, so I've got to go there to custom, and then add, and we'll make it 1 to 200 in the name, and then type in 200 there of course, and move it down where it belongs so it goes under 1 to 100. And then you still have to choose it again from the list there, and there we are, that fits perfectly. And I don't even need to hide these projection layers because they won't print anyway, but it makes it nicer if we can have them not showing in this viewport. So remember, you can always freeze in just the current viewport. Going down to here, you've got that option for that. Yep. And of course the grid can go away, and so there we are. So then the last thing I wanted to show you then is how to get things from one page to another, because I've of course got my new version of my title block that I want to have on all my pages, and you would have seen that this one still has the old version. So this is where you don't want to use Xrefs. This one. What page size have you been using? Yeah, so it's A2 on this one, but then the other one's not, and that's what we're going to fix. Yeah, that's right. So this side, yeah, this is still the old one. So now you can actually use a mix of page sizes, but yeah, it's good if you can keep them all the same. So this one, that's definitely A2. So now I want to make that the same on this one, but I don't want to redo that page. I want to keep these viewports that I've already got there. So to fix that, firstly I'll go to the Page Setup Manager, and then change it to A2 there, and that's fine. Even though, well actually this is from the Adobe PDF list of page sizes. So I'm going to go back to the DWG to PDF so I can use the same page sizes as I had on the other page. And that's the important thing because they are slightly different. Not the edge of the page, but the print area is different depending on the printer you choose. So it's good to keep that consistent as well. So that's working. But then what I really wanted to show you and just get you thinking about is when you should be using Xrefs and when you should be using blocks. Because if I was to use an Xref, sometimes when you show people Xrefs, they think, great, I can use Xrefs instead of blocks for everything. But you don't want to do that because you don't always want them to be updated. So the idea there, if you've got a drawing that's been issued in a certain way, that's an important thing that it can be reissued, even if you later on go on to make amendments and you've got new versions of that drawing, you've got to be able to go back sometimes to the original version and reissue it. And just for record keeping, it's an important thing that you can go back and the drawing is the way it was when it was completed. So if you start doing things like title blocks as Xrefs, then when that master file for your title block gets updated, which is going to happen, it's going to update old drawings, and you don't want that. So you just got to think about, that's right, yep, so that's right, that's it, exactly. And usually within a project. So you don't want things from different projects Xref'd or things from your master library being Xref'd. That's when you use blocks. So then I'll show you a couple of tricks for moving this block across. So I've got a block there, and I've got this one here, which is also a block, but then I've got my little image there, which is not even part of the block, and I've got these other things, which are different blocks, and they're all in different places, or they all have different insertion points. So instead of trying to reinsert the block, I'm just going to select them all, right-click, and go to Clipboard. And instead of choosing copy, I'm going to use copy with base point. Just this little trick to get things to go from one layout to another. Make sure you use copy with base point. And then I'm going to simply type 0, 0, enter, go to the page I want to put them on, clear out all these old ones, and then right-click and go to Clipboard, and then paste. And I can type 0, 0, and put them in exactly the same spot. And then an easy way to check that, I'm going to type Z, enter, A, enter. That's zoom all, which is slightly different to zoom extents. Zoom extents would zoom and fit the things I've drawn on the page, whereas zoom all fits the page. Z, enter, A, enter. Yeah. And so here I'll do the same thing. So Z, enter, A, enter. And now I can flick between those two pages and see that the logo and everything is in exactly the same spot. And that's a nice little way of checking drawings. So that should give you enough on Xrefs and also working with different coordinate systems, which is useful when you're working with Xrefs especially. So maybe now... well, I'd use a different scale bar. I'd have another one that's for 1 to 5. No, that's right, let it go. Yeah, that's a good point. So do you know how to change that scale bar into a 1 to 5? Kind of. Kind of. I'll show you. Okay, so it's a good thing to know. So I'm going to type W, enter, and make sure this has been W blocked. I've already given it to you, but I'm just making sure. I'll put it into a new folder. So I've got a folder there called 2019 blocks, and yeah, that one's there, but I'll put this one with the new name as well, just to make it confusing. And so now, this is the best way to edit blocks. Don't try and do it all in edit block in place with things like this. It's much better to do it in its own file. So there I've got, again, that new folder, 2019 blocks, and there's the one that I just saved. So to make this into a 1 to 5 scale, remember it's going to be a tenth. A tenth 1 to 50. So I'm going to just change the name there to 1 to 5. So a tenth of 1 metre. Yeah, exactly. And then Anyway, a tenth of 2.5.
You just move it up one.
That's it. Now you could change that to millimetres, but not a bad idea to keep it as metres. And then save as. So you can make all the different scales that you need simply by multiplying those values.
Yeah.
And you need a different block for each different scale.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing to do. Once you've decided on the design you want for your scale bars, make one for every scale. So I'll just change this to 1 to 5. No? 1 to 20, okay. I'll do 1 to 20. So I'll save this one. Because the maths is easier going from 1 to 50, I'm going to close this one. It's not too hard to go from here, it's just 4 times, but I want to do it from the 1 to 50 because that's the way my brain works. So I'll do this one again. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do 1 to 100 first, so it's easier to go from 1 to 100 to 1 to 20. Just the maths is easier. It's not that hard, it's 0.4, but still. Okay, so here we'll just change the text to 1 to 100. And then this will be double. Right? And then this one's, yeah, 5. So that's it. And so again, so this time I'll save as 1 to 100. Or just 100 is enough to know what it's for. And then I'll change this to what it's going to be, 1 to 20. And then this gets divided by 5.
What's 2 divided by 5?
Come on. 2 over 5, that's right, 0.4, don't it? So. Okay, so hopefully that one's a bit easier. And there we are, so that's 1 to 20. Exactly, yep, that's it. And then the really easy one, K1 to 200, that's right. Well, you can do 1 to 10 and 1 to 2 and all that. So, okay, so there we are. I can wait. Okay, so there you go. So again, how would you... So how would you insert those? Yeah. Not as a Xref, but as a block. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just put that straight over the top and then get rid of the old one. And there we go. So is it clear why you've got the different symbols that I've made for the section references all in the different directions?
Yeah.
So you've got those three.
As well.
Exactly. That's right, yeah. So they shouldn't be there in the detail. I've just put them there so you can see them. Yeah.
Yeah, I did one of those ones for elevation, the circle.
Yep. Yeah, there's one for that too. So that's this one with the line, that's the reference for these.
Oh yeah, I've already put that.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You can just draw a circle and a line, but there's a block for that too, if you want it. Yep.
Drawing that circle, the line, the line.
Yep.
Oh.
The drawing reference. So that's it. So that's everything you'll need. Otherwise, it's just back to drawing the lines. Yep, pretty much. Yep. If you're working in the office and know that, you'll be able to do it all. Except for 3D. We don't have time to look at 3D anymore, unfortunately, with AutoCAD. AutoCAD 3D is amazing. But if you don't have time, yeah, once you master 2D, think about it. Oh, Revit.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to go back to Revit.
Because I kind of like, don't get me wrong, I know how to use Revit, but now I'm doing AutoCAD. I don't remember Revit at all.
Are you kidding?
No,
Oh,
no,
no.
like I know what Revit is, but
Yeah.
like, I'm just like, oh.
Oh, well, that's fine. We're going to be going back to Revit and then getting details from Revit. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah, or doing a mix. So still using AutoCAD, but doing a lot more in Revit, and just trying to understand how documentation works differently in Revit as opposed to AutoCAD.
Hey, can we come on in
But,
next week and then we go on holiday? Can we?
Yeah.
Can we hold off in the holidays or we away?
I'm going to be away for one of the weeks, but yeah, we can try and work out something. Yeah, I'll see what we can do. The week after, yeah. But really, AutoCAD is just the line drawing that you've got to understand, and then you should be okay. And so the reason I'm spending so long on AutoCAD though is because if you understand that that process of really just it's almost like hand drawing in AutoCAD, then when you go to look at detailing in Revit, then it should be crystal clear how Revit does it. Yeah. So I'll just be practicing drawing. If you're not feeling comfortable with any parts of AutoCAD, it's more muscle memory than anything, and you know it's the right finger that you sort of just feel naturally. You know, right clicks at the right time, and then you're left clicking away, and you can draw anything. So. Oh yeah, it makes all the difference. Yeah, that's right. Because right click in AutoCAD is almost like enter. And enter you're doing all the time in AutoCAD, and spacebar in AutoCAD also does the same thing as enter. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and enter spacebar, right mouse button, all pretty much the same.